morning, good afternoon, good evening. There's been a flurry of activity by Zanu PF mocking the opposition. I think the people of Zimbabwe will be best advised to sit up and pay attention, because some of the things that these guys are saying in Zanu PF is actually true and very relevant. In this clip, I would like to look at an ex-posting by Varakashi for ED, where they go into spell out about 6 steps mocking the opposition. And the first step they're saying here is how to become a completely useless opposition leader. Step number 1, when your supporters ask for direction, don't give them strategy. Give them Bible verses and motivational quotations. #blessed, #hope. There is some truth in this, Ben, don't you think?
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. I mean, this is what the people of Zimbabwe are actually living. A lot of people have asked, what's going on? Where are we headed? Then what? Up until people decided, they've had enough. Some people had to make that call to say, what, this we really don't know where we are going. Things are falling apart all around us, but we are getting, these motivational quotes and Bible verses. There's simply no leadership. There's no direction. It's happening. So, I have to agree to say this is what the opposition is all about now. There is no sense of direction. There is no sense of agency. Rather, you are just given a balloon with hot air,
Well, the next step is always start every speech with hashtag. What is in it? Hashtag New Great Zimbabwe. I think there's no denying that has been Chamisa's strategy. It doesn't give any detail at all. It just throws at his supporters short speeches talking about things are going to change without saying what exactly is going to change. How is he going to change it? And this has been going on for decades. And I think that is one of the biggest issues here. This has been going on for decades.
Yeah, I have to agree. Really, when you look at it, from you look at the bigger picture. there is really nothing that the people of Zimbabwe are being sold by the current opposition to actually start believing that, there's that sense of direction, there's urgency, like I said. It's, you kind of feel like, you are being manipulated, being told what you want to hear, and then they walk away giving you that sense of a false hope. That is all that is to it. And again, I have to agree.
Well, I like the third one. When things fall apart, blame Zanu PF, the army, the courts, and even the weather, never yourself. Well, this will be taken straight from Zanu PF's own script. And this we have talked about on this platform. And in this case, we referred to Edson Sobro because he had observed the same thing as well during the Liberation War. He was talking of how when they were having their discussion, more often than not, when his opponents were losing the argument, they will revert to what he called the Mozambique syndrome, where they blame the other person of being an American spy, and thus lose the real focus on the real burning issues. I think this has become almost the standard manual for our politics. Whenever there is never any meaningful debate on any substantive issues. And each time you try to bring up any substantive issues, you are always confronted with the same problem, where you are called, even if you are opposition, you criticize the opposition, you are called a Zanu PF agent. If you criticize Zanu PF, you are called unpatriotic, a puppet of the West. This is, I think, a very serious problem in Zimbabwe politics, which not only affect the opposition, but affect the ruling party as well.
Again, I have to agree with that one, to say, that is the blame game, as been used to justify failure in Zimbabwe. And it's rightfully, you said, both opposition and Zanu PF will use it. Zanu PF has a slogan, even whatever fails, even it's all about sanctions. Opposition, they have their own, problems, rigged elections, which they knew, and so forth. We usually say, in English, they say, a bad worker blames his tools. These are just bad workers. They will not blame themselves, but rather will look for an alternative, just to shift the blame from themselves and justify failure. For example, I always look at it from opposition, where the opposition said they will definitely be winning these, rigged elections, come what may. Even in heaven, it's already been ordained, it's already been set up, and deep down we all knew That was a lie. And after that lie was exposed, blame was shifted to to society and all other things except the man that spoke out and said, let us go and do the impossible. So again, they are not wrong to say that, because we are living it.
Well, step number 4, according to Arakashi, is every few years start afresh. New party, new colors, new faces, and of course, new hashtags. Recycling is only real policy you believe in. Well, I don't think that needs any more comments. It says it all. And step number 5, keep sidelining your comrades, especially those with brains, those you think are a threat to your position, or anyone who isn't a bootlicker. Well, that I would also say applies to the opposition as much as it applies to Zanu PF.
I mean, like I said, somebody that is got very poor workmanship standard will always try and find those people that are, you know, are below him, below his standard. He will not try and surround himself with workers and thinkers, lest he end up losing that position that he has, or having to lose that authority. And once you have and surrounded yourself with such people, I mean, look, if you yourself are a failure and you surround yourself with failures, there is no hope of anything, meaningful coming out of that association. And this is what we are seeing, both in Zanu PF. This is why you find Zanu PF keeps on recycling the same old guys that really offer nothing. The same thing with the opposition. What's now with the opposition? There is no hierarchy. It's do as you please, as long as everybody recognizes me as the sole, owner or whatever of the whole organization. That just spells disaster. And I always think of what happened in, I'm not sure if it's Singapore or Malaysia, when they gained their independence. The guy in charge went out and got the best people to come in and help form his government. And he associated with beautiful minds. And this is why you find the country moved forward. Then you have Zimbabwe, who decided, no, there is no one above Mugabe. The rest must be shallow than him. Hence you find it's a mess, it's a circus, it's a dead end. And I have to agree, that is true.
Well, you referred to Tony Blair there. This is the video clip I think you were referring to.
The fascinating thing about Lee Kuan Yew is he took 3 important decisions right at the beginning for Singapore. Each one of them now seems obvious. Each one at the time was deeply contested. Number 1, he said, everyone's going to speak English in Singapore. Now, there were lots of people who said to him at the time, no, we need to have our own local language. We need to be true to our roots and everything. He said, no, English is the language of the world and we're all going to speak English. Secondly, he said, we're going to get the best intellectual capital from wherever it exists in the world, and we're going to bring it to Singapore. And again, people said, no, we should stand on our own 2 feet. And you're also bringing in the British, who we just, who we've got all these disputes with. And he said, no, I'm going to bring in the best from wherever they are, and they're going to come to Singapore. And the third thing he did was he said there's going to be no corruption. And one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to make sure our political leaders are well paid, which the Singapore leaders are the best paid in the world, and zero tolerance of corruption. Those are the 3 decisions that were instrumental in building Singapore today.
Well, that is the alternative advice. But in Zimbabwe, of course, that has not happened. Here is Emmerson Mnangagwa boasting that in Zimbabwe, the opposition is toothless.
I'm happy that in Zimbabwe, hakuna friction between the ruling party and the opposition party. But it is critically important that we must have an opposition which must check on the ruling party. So members of the opposition, make sure you deal with the ruling party. Don't make them sit. Make sure you make them busy, the opposition. Somebody get it. Nyanga bakadini, rambai mchingo criticize, kuseni masikati criticize. That way, munoabasi kuti varambe vari mupower. Nokuti vanenge vachidiscover mistakes avo vachicorrect. Ivi muchingorova, nokuti mukasivarova vanorelaxa, mozotora power. So my advice for opposition, please be serious in opposition. Nokuti murambe muri mu opposition.
Actually, if the truth be said, Mnangagwa has the opposition hooked in his deep pockets. He bribed the opposition so that they failed to implement even one token reform during the GNU when they had the golden opportunity to do so. And ever since, they've been participating in flawed elections for the few gravitran seats that Mnangagwa dishes out. He was boasting, yes, but there was truth in that boast. Zimbabwe's opposition has been opposition in name only. MDC, CCC leaders are Zanu PF Team B in all but name, playing for Team A to win and for Team A to have legitimacy. That is the truth. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, the picture, the cartoon that you had put on there speaks 1,000 words. And for those that still cannot figure out what is happening, the opposition or the current opposition that we have in Zimbabwe are already in Zanu PF's deep pockets. They have been charged to keep the people of Zimbabwe participating in rigged elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. Our participation in an election is what gives the stamp to say we are agreeing with the outcome. And they have kept on telling us that let us go in numbers, we will win. And they know fully well, every one of us knows very well, Zanu PF will rig those elections and will win those, that election. The problem has been that we have been willing participants in this whole madness. We have failed to think for ourselves to say, but hold on, Zanu PF is gaining at the end of the day. The opposition are taking up seats left, right, and center. They're fighting over participation money. What are we getting out of this? Absolutely nothing. So again, now the question is, what then do we do? We need to stop participating in rigged elections. Demand for free, fair, and credible elections. And half that job has already been done for us. The recommendations, the reforms have already been given. All we just need to do is push for them to be implemented. And then finally, after 45 years, Zimbabwe will have a free, fair, and credible election. And from there, we can have leaders that are accountable, leaders that are for the people and by the people. And unless we realize and unless we push for that to materialize, we will be stuck and we will be here saying the same thing over and over again. I hope we choose to do the right thing. So if there are no reforms, there should be no election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think as much as some people would want to laugh at this Varakashi for ED posting, yes, it's taking the mickey out of the opposition, but there is a lot of truth in those 6 steps. Right now, Chamisa has reached his 6th step. He's in the process of forming a new party which will motivate people to go and participate in flawed elections and give Zanu PF legitimacy. Breaking this cycle has been the biggest challenge of our generation. If we fail to break it in 2028, we will only have ourselves to blame for it. It is not an impossible task. Convincing the millions of the so-called Chamisa Chete Brigade that it is folly to keep participating in flawed elections. Because that is the real challenge. As long as Chamisa is able to con the 4 million of his followers to participate, Zanu PF will have legitimacy. And we will still be stuck with this failed political system. That is the reality. Think about it. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.